When we look at the towering figures of history, the builders of dynasties, corporations, movements, or personal legacies, it's tempting to assume they had some magical advantage. Maybe they were lucky. Maybe they had resources handed to them, but peel back the layers and you'll discover something far more powerful and far more ordinary, a habit of showing up again and again without fail. Consistency is not glamorous. It's rarely praised in the moment, but it is the one habit that lays brick after brick in the construction of greatness. It's waking up every morning and doing the work, even when no one's watching, even when the rewards feel far away. It's sticking to the process, especially on the days when it feels like it's not working. Building an empire, whether it's a business, a brand, a life of purpose, or a family legacy, isn't the result of one big leap. It's the result of 1,000 small steps repeated with faith and discipline. The truth is, consistency beats talent when talent doesn't show up. It beats motivation because motivation is fleeting. Consistency is about showing up when it's boring, when it's hard, when it's inconvenient. Because deep down, you know that every day you show up, you're laying one more stone in your empire. The greats don't wait for inspiration. They trust the process, and the process rewards those who stay loyal to it. There's a dangerous myth in the world of success, the idea that greatness is born from one massive, life-changing moment, a viral breakthrough, a sudden opportunity, a spark of genius that changes everything overnight. But real, sustainable success doesn't work that way. The truth is far more grounded. It thrives on the tiny actions you take daily, especially when no one else is paying attention. The small things, those quiet, repetitive, often overlooked tasks are the true building blocks of every major achievement. It's the writer who adds just one paragraph each morning, the entrepreneur who sends a follow-up email before lunch, the student who studies 30 extra minutes every evening. These actions seem insignificant in the moment, but they are compounding investments in a greater future. Small, consistent efforts have a cumulative power that most people underestimate. Each action is like a drop of water falling onto a stone. At first, it looks like nothing's changing, but over time, the stone is shaped, reshaped, and eventually transformed. The same principle applies to your dreams and goals. Repeating small, productive habits may not look heroic, but it's those habits that create momentum, build skill, and sharpen focus. The irony, big results come from small beginnings. Most people ignore this because the process seems too slow, too simple. But that's exactly why it works, because while others chase shortcuts and quick fixes, the consistent few keep stacking those daily actions, building quietly, relentlessly, until the world takes notice. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces in life, but it doesn't arrive by accident. It's not something you find, it's something you build brick by brick, effort by effort, through the discipline of relentless consistency. Think of momentum like pushing a heavy flywheel. At first, it barely budges. It feels frustrating, slow, and even pointless, but with every push, every repetition of effort, the wheel begins to turn faster, smoother, and more powerfully. Consistency is what fuels that motion. It's the steady hand in a chaotic world. It's doing what matters most, especially when the initial excitement has worn off and results haven't yet arrived. Momentum is not created during moments of high energy or motivation. It's born when you keep going on the days when it feels hard, thankless, or repetitive. That's what separates those who start from those who finish, and those who build from those who wish. The beauty of momentum is that once it's in motion, it starts to work in your favor. Small tasks become easier. Resistance weakens. What once took effort becomes part of your rhythm, but this only happens if you're consistent enough to reach that tipping point. Each day you show up, no matter how small the progress, you're stacking forward energy, energy that multiplies. Over time, your momentum becomes a force greater than your doubts, stronger than your excuses, and faster than your fears. People often marvel at how certain individuals seem unstoppable. What they don't see is the silent grind, the daily commitment, the invisible struggle that built the momentum behind that movement. It's not luck or talent, it's the compounding power of showing up relentlessly until momentum takes over. It's easy to admire greatness from a distance, to look at the finished product and assume it was created by genius, luck, or some extraordinary spark. But if you zoom in on the process behind any truly great achievement, you'll find something surprisingly ordinary. A person who made peace with the mundane and chose to master it every single day. The world often glamorizes breakthroughs and overlooks the boring, but it is in the boring that greatness is born, the mundane tasks, the early mornings, the disciplined routines, the repetitive drills, the daily journaling, the quiet planning. These are not distractions from success. They are the very soil in which success grows. The greatest athletes, leaders, creators, and builders all have one thing in common. They consistently execute the small, routine tasks with excellence. Why? Because the mundane builds habits, and habits build character, and character is what sustains greatness long after the spotlight fades. Mastering the mundane also trains your mind for patience and humility. It teaches you to show up when there's no applause, to refine your craft in private before anyone recognizes it in public. It builds internal strength, the kind that isn't shaken by obstacles or setbacks. In fact, those who learn to find meaning in repetition, who can focus on details no one else values, develop a level of endurance and skill that is almost impossible to compete with. The reason most people never achieve their highest potential isn't because they lack talent. It's because they refuse to embrace the monotony required to bring that talent to life. The mundane is uncomfortable. It's unglamorous. It doesn't feel like success. But it is in those ordinary tasks, done with extraordinary commitment, that real transformation happens. If you want to rise above average, you must learn to fall in love with the boring parts of the journey, the parts no one posts about, the parts that feel like they don't matter. Because they do. One of the greatest mistakes people make on their journey towards success is waiting to feel ready before they act. They rely on motivation, excitement, or a surge of inspiration to push them forward. But the truth is, emotions are fleeting. They rise and fall like tides. If your effort is dictated by how you feel in the moment, your progress will always be inconsistent and unstable. True achievers understand this. They don't rely on mood. They rely on discipline. They've trained themselves to take action regardless of emotion. On the days when they feel energized, they show up. But more importantly, on the days when they feel tired, discouraged, distracted, or uninspired, they still show up. That is the difference between those who dream and those who build. Letting emotion dictate effort is like letting the weather decide whether you plant your crops. You may have good days, but you'll never harvest anything consistently. Successful people build systems that are stronger than their feelings. They create routines that carry them forward when their emotions try to pull them back. They've learned to separate their emotional state from their responsibility to the goal. It's not that they don't feel tired, afraid, or doubtful. They do, but they've trained themselves to act in spite of emotion, not because of it. That inner strength, the ability to commit to action without waiting for the perfect mood, is what gives them an edge. Because while others pause to wait for motivation, they move forward even with heavy hearts or cloudy minds. Emotions are important. They signal things. They help us understand ourselves. But they are not meant to be the steering wheel of our lives, especially not when the road to greatness demands consistency, resilience, and sacrifice. When you learn to act independently of your emotional state, you gain something incredibly rare, the power to keep moving forward when most people quit. We often imagine that the most important decisions in life are big, dramatic, once-in-a-lifetime moments, a life-changing business deal, a bold Leap of faith, a massive breakthrough, but the truth is far more subtle and far more powerful. Your empire is being shaped by the choices you make every single day, especially the small, seemingly insignificant ones. The way you wake up, the attitude you bring to your work, the way you handle frustration, the choice to scroll or study, to speak up or stay silent, to give up or push forward, these tiny decisions stack upon one another. Over time, they create the trajectory of your life. Your daily behavior is the blueprint of your destiny. Most people overlook this because the effects of their choices aren't immediate. One skipped workout, one missed opportunity, one lazy afternoon doesn't seem to matter. But choices compound, and over weeks, months, and years, they build a legacy, either one of strength, focus, and purpose, or one of regret, distraction, and missed potential. Empires aren't built in a single day, they're built daily. They're crafted through intentional living, where even the smallest actions are aligned with a bigger vision. The person who chooses to stay up late watching mindless content today may not feel the cost now, but months later, they'll see it in their energy, their mindset, their results. Meanwhile, the one who chooses to study, create, or build in that same moment is planting seeds for a future no one else can yet see. That's the secret. Greatness is not about what you do occasionally. It's about what you do consistently. And what you do consistently comes down to the choices you make, hour by hour, day by day. Whether or not you realize it, your empire, whatever that means for you, is being formed right now by your current habits, your current decisions, and your current mindset. Discipline isn't just about grit, willpower, or pushing through discomfort. At its core, discipline is a byproduct of vision, a clear and compelling picture of what you're working toward. Without a long-term vision, discipline fades. Without a sense of purpose beyond the present, the effort begins to feel pointless, exhausting, and empty. But when you know where you're going, when your vision is vivid, meaningful, and emotionally rooted, discipline becomes less of a struggle and more of a natural extension of your commitment. It becomes easier to say no to temporary pleasures when you're deeply connected to a permanent purpose. Suddenly, the pain of sacrifice feels lighter than the pain of regret. Vision gives your daily actions context. It transforms repetitive tasks into meaningful steps. It allows you to endure the boring, the difficult, and the unseen with the understanding that what you're doing now matters, even if the results haven't shown up yet. That's why people with a strong, long-term vision often outlast those who are simply chasing short-term motivation. Your vision acts as a compass, keeping you aligned even when the path feels confusing. It reminds you that temporary discomfort is a small price for lasting achievement. It allows you to push through fatigue, rejection, failure, or slow progress, because you're not living for the moment. You're building for something greater. When discipline is disconnected from vision, it becomes punishment, but when it's fueled by vision, it becomes passion. You stop waking up to an alarm clock and start waking up to a mission. You no longer need constant motivation from the outside because something much stronger is pulling you forward from within. This is how real empires are built, not just by force, but by people who see the end before the beginning. People who live with the future in mind, who act with clarity, and who allow that vision to shape their every decision. In the end, the difference between those who dream and those who build comes down to a single choice, repeated daily. Will you show up? Will you honor the habit, even when it's hard, even when it's boring, even when no one claps? Because that's where empires are born, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows of relentless effort. You don't need more time. You don't need more talent. You need the courage to commit to one habit, one action, one standard, and never let go. The road is long, but every great journey begins with the decision to keep walking. So build your empire, one disciplined day at a time.